Howdy everyone, this is your buddy BP, and I'm here today to review the brand new Year 2 version of the Suros Regime. The Saros Regime is an exotic auto rifle first introduced in Destiny at launch. The Suros has something of a storied past in Destiny. During the first half of Year 1, the Suros was one of the most coveted weapons in Destiny for PvP. Its combination of solid base stats and a great selection of perks made for a weapon that was adaptable, powerful, and easy to use. And at one point it was actually the most used weapon in the Crucible. Bungie quickly took notice of its abuse, however, and in patch 1.1.1, they nerfed auto rifles across the board. Overnight, auto rifles became the least favored of the primary weapon classes for PvP, and the Suros was from then on seldom seen in the Crucible. For Year 2, Bungie has given auto rifles a buff, and the Suros Regime itself has undergone some changes. Let's take a closer look at the Suros Regime. The first and most noticeable change is the introduction of the Spinning Up perk, which causes the weapon to fire faster the longer you hold down the trigger, while also providing additional stability. Think of it like lightning rounds for the Thunderlord, only without the accuracy bonus. Before, the only perk available in the second column was Focused Fire, which increases the Suros' damage while aiming down the sights at the expense of fire rate. This perk now also increases the weapon's range. Focused Fire is good for PvE as it allows you to maximize the amount of damage the Suros can deal per shot, but in PvP the slower rate of fire leads to a lower time to kill. In the Crucible, Spinning Up will likely be the way to go, but if you're like me and you're used to Focused Fire, then it may take some getting used to. In a lot of one-on-one engagements, I often found myself getting outgunned before the increased fire rate even took effect. You may want to consider approaching it the way you would handle a fusion rifle by holding down the trigger until the weapon powers up, then aiming for an opponent. Regardless, I do feel as if Spinning Up is the ideal choice of the two for PvP activities. The second most notable change to the Suros Regime is in the fourth column of upgrades, where you may have noticed that high caliber rounds have been removed. I'm not a fan of this change, as I felt that high caliber rounds made for a great choice in PvE. Being able to continuously stagger Tier 2 enemies with stacking damage was a practical choice for things like Nightfalls and Prison of Elders. The Suros can still stagger enemies, but it's noticeably harder to do without the rounds. The other two optional perks, Hand-Loaded and Lightweight, are still around though. Lightweight is good for the more agile type of player who likes to duck and weave while taking on enemies in the Crucible. If you're a hunter who's still rocking the Radiant Dance Machines, definitely consider giving this perk a go. My personal preference, however, is Hand-Loaded, which gives the Suros Regime a sizable boost to range. The first column of optional perks has remained unchanged. Your options include Field Choke, Linear Compensator, and Smart Drift Control. Which of the three you choose will ultimately depend on how much stability you want for your Suros. Personally, I like using the Suros with maxed out stability, so for me, Smart Drift Control is the way to go. Doing this will cause your range to take a hit, but this can be remedied by using either Focused Fire or Hand-Loaded. Still, if you can control the Suros even without Smart Drift Control, and it is possible, then definitely try Field Choke to maximize your range. I recommend trying all three until you find the one that feels most comfortable to use. Another thing that hasn't changed is the Suros' unique perk, Saros Legacy, which causes the bottom half of the magazine to gradually deal more damage. Dealing damage this way also has a random chance to trigger health regeneration. Bonus damage is great for clutching intense moments in PvP, and the chance for health regen is nice in PvE when taking on tough Tier 2 enemies such as Ultras. While health regen is always great for a weapon, it's bogged down here by it being triggered by random chance. When compared to the Red Death, which triggers health regen on every kill, there's no way to count on whether or not a shot from the Suros Regime will save your life. One other thing that has changed about the Suros is the aesthetics. The Year 2 Suros has been given a new coat of paint, replacing its old eggshell white design with a gunmetal gray one. The Suros' firing sound has also been changed. Before, the Suros had a unique chime to it when it fired. It wasn't a powerful sounding noise, but it was distinctive. So distinctive, in fact, that during the weapon's heyday in Year 1, Guardians were able to recognize when other players were using it by the sound alone. Now, the Suros has a mightier sounding pop to it when it fires, which complements the weapon's fierce new design. It's not a bad look, but I'm nostalgic for the old white shell cap gun sounding Suros of yesteryear. It's not as hip as the new Year 2 Suros, but I think it gives the weapon a bit more character. In PvE, the Suros is a decent choice, but without high caliber rounds, it's not quite the showstopper it once was. Its combination of high impact, stability, and an excellent array of perks makes for a versatile weapon that's great for tackling bosses while keeping your health from dropping too low. Against small tier 1 enemies, the Suros also performs well, but if you're going to use an exotic primary for clearing out waves of small time tier 1 adds, then you're better off with either a Red Death or a Bad Juju. In PvP, the Suros is arguably the best auto rifle in the game, but it's not quite the easy kill gun it was a year ago. Now it's more of an auto rifle for people who like auto rifles. This isn't to say that people who don't use auto rifles can't make the most of it, they can. However, if you're not used to using auto rifles in the Crucible, then you're likely going to need to take some time getting used to how it performs. For many of the matches I played using the Suros, I frequently found myself getting outgunned by all manner of weapons, such as pulse rifles and scout rifles, but never other auto rifles because, no one ever seems to use them in the Crucible. Eventually you'll get the hang of it, but it's important to know how to use cover and to be quick on the draw, as it's easy to get slaughtered in one-on-one engagements with other Guardians who are likely using other weapons with a quicker time to kill. One minor problem I have with the Suros regime is the fun factor. While the Suros at its core is a fantastic, well-rounded weapon with great stats and perks, it doesn't quite feel as rewarding to use. It's a delight when the Telesto drops orbs from multi-kills, or when your Mina multi-tool gives you the speed burst you need to close in on an opponent with a shoulder charge, but rarely did I ever feel all that thrilled about landing kills with the Suros. The Suros regime takes a more function over fun approach as opposed to other weapons. At its core, the Suros has the ability to outperform any other auto rifle in the game, but that's where it ends. It's designed to aid the player in winning gunfights rather than rewarding them for winning them, such as the Monte Carlo or the Zalo Supercell. I'm not saying you can't have fun with the Suros, but when I'm looking for a weapon to take with me into the Crucible just for fun, the Suros is never my first choice. Let's summarize everything we've discussed here. The Suros regime is one of the finest auto rifles in the game. Its base stats are practically excellent, and when combined with its fantastic selection of perks, it can be easily modified to fit almost any situation. Its unique perk, Saros Legacy, will also give it that little extra push it needs to help you survive intense one-on-one encounters in PvP, while also granting the chance for health regeneration to keep you in the fight longer. Sadly, despite being the king of auto rifles in general are still in a pretty poor place in the Destiny meta. No longer are they the Guardian slaughtering machines they were a year ago. Though Bungie has made steps to bring them up to speed with other primary weapon classes, they still have a way to go before they can compete with the pulse rifles we often see in the Crucible. Also, while health regeneration is nice, it's still based on random chance as opposed to the Red Death, which guarantees health regeneration on every kill. With this and the Red Death's better time to kill, one has to wonder why you would use the Suros over it. Furthermore, the Year 2 Suros' lack of high caliber rounds hurts its viability in PvE activities. And that concludes my review of the Year 2 Suros regime. What are your opinions on the new Suros? Do you agree with me? Do I just suck at auto rifles? Let me know in the comments section. I love hearing back from you. Also, if you have any suggestions for other exotic gear you would like for me to do reviews of in the future, then let me know. I enjoy making reviews for y'all. Also, don't forget to spank that like button if you enjoyed the review or you found it helpful in any way. Your feedback is very important to me. And as always, y'all be good to each other, and I will see you in the next video.